Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, geeks and nerds and ambassadors everywhere, and welcome back to the Ambassadorial Wing, another installment of Sci-Fi Review. And hope you all are having a great Sunday night. Hope you've had a very good weekend. Mine's been pretty good. I cannot complain. And I am back once again with my good friend, my fellow ambassador. You know him, you love him. He is awesome. He is the master of none, the jack of all trades. Mr. Brian Hill, Master of Noms, and also known to those who love him as the Master of Noms. And
Hey
tonight,
guys, what's up?
we are going to be wrapping up our new Trek review series with Star Trek Beyond. And Brian, my man, good to have you back. Good to have you on board. And I won't lie, I've missed working with you, and I'm so glad that you agreed to work with to join me for these reviews, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well. And tonight, like I said, we're gonna be going beyond
On.
So, as always, folks, if this is your first visit to the Ambassadorial Wing, make sure you smash that like button, share this out with all your Trekkie friends, whether they are old Trek or new Trek, regardless. And if this is your first visit to the AW and you like what I'm doing here, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and join us for all the fun. So, that being said, we don't stand on a whole lot of ceremony here. So, Brian, my man, let's jump right in.
All right.
Star Trek Beyond. Your thoughts?
Man. Well, compared to the other two, this is actually going to be slightly disappointing. I've only watched this movie twice.
Mm-hmm.
And the second viewing was probably about a half hour ago. I finished it up. Like I watched part of it one week and then I finished it up right before the show.
If it makes you feel better, just real quick, if it makes you feel better, I just watched it today.
Oh, there you go.
I meant to watch it sooner, but I've been super busy this week. This past week has been crazy. But I will say, just initial thoughts. I enjoyed it. It was good. It was a good time. Anyway, Brian, go ahead.
The second viewing, I don't know. I remember enjoying it in 2017 when I watched it the first time. It was really sad because this movie talks about a lot of loss, and it's kind of sad because at this point in time, it's a muted end to what would have been a very interesting series of movies.
Yes. You know, obviously this movie takes place in the aftermath of the passing of a titan amongst us geeks, of course, the late great Leonard Nimoy. And they have a bit of an homage. They actually do have Ambassador Spock who has passed in this movie. And young Spock learns of Prime Spock's death. And of course, this movie was Anton Yelchin's final on-screen appearance in a film, and I have to say, him as Chekhov, he was great in this. I mean, I think honestly, everybody gave their all for this. I think they all did a really bang-up job in their roles. But yeah, I have to agree. It felt very. I think the word you used was perfect. It was very muted. And honestly, while this was a very high octane, very entertaining, very engaging action film set in the Star Trek universe, I was hoping they would have done more in the aftermath of this, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Well, I think the confluence of circumstances which led to these movies being a thing in the first place are no longer an issue
Mm-hmm.
because it was all about rights issues and stuff like that with regards to CBS television, Paramount, all that kind of nonsense. But anyways, um dang, this movie, I don't know, man. It doesn't really do anything for me in a sense. Like there's action in it, but I think it kind of it points out what I don't like about all three of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense that, like, okay, some of the action scenes in this made me dizzy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I were to sit there and watch this movie in 3D, I don't know. I'd probably end up having to take the glasses off or something. But
Me, it did. I never, maybe it's just my disposition. I am accustomed to keeping track of multiple elements in an action film. I mean, I grew up watching action films as a kid, as much as you did as well, Brian.
well, it's
And
not
so
that.
I,
It
mhm.
was the rotation of the camera that bothered me, especially at the end, the climax, like the battle scene, because how
Yeah,
they would rotate around, the camera would just kind of rotate and things would barrel roll, and it was like, does everything have to barrel roll? And just like, and I want to just kind of put a point on that comment I made earlier about what
yeah.
it kind of bothered me about all three of these Star Trek movies is the action. They did, I think they did a terrible job because it just because it's Star Trek, I will give you some license, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But don't take that license and go 100 miles an hour in a 15, okay? Like,
Yeah.
first off, how many people are on these damn ships? You know, there's you got people getting sucked out into airlocks and out into space. And I mean, I think New Trek kind of suffers from this as well. Like the stuff that's on TV, it also does that.
Yeah.
It's just like
Mhm.
this over the top sci-fi action, and it's like that's one thing. And this is the old Trek fan in me. Like that's one thing that is so hard. Like yes, there's action in Trek, but action in Trek is somewhat plausible. I'm not going to say believable, but like you can kind of wrap your head around it and it doesn't take you completely out of the movie. There were parts in action in this movie where it completely removed me.
And and I'll say this too. Like I said, I don't dislike this movie. I did enjoy it and everything, but the one thing that bothered me just a little bit was the smaller ships, the swarm ships of the aliens, well, aliens, quote unquote, that could just seemingly tear through the Enterprise. And I'm like,
Like it's tissue
um,
paper.
yeah, well, maybe not tissue paper, but just it took them a bit to do it. But at the same time, I'm thinking,
Yeah. And
I
then you get
just
this 100-year-old ship that's been rotting on a planet
and
to go
they're
crash through the cement. It was just like, are you kidding me? Oh, and through a door. It's like how strong is this ship? What's it made out of? Vibranium? Like you're
it's
killing me
made out of
here.
something.
God dang. Like
Yeah, the Franklin, and then I will say this: I did like the design of the Franklin because it is reminiscent of the Enterprise from the series Enterprise. It
I
had
did that too. Yeah.
I did enjoy that. I'll even say it. I like the motorcycle, but uh,
That turned me
as
off in the trailer when I saw it the first time. I was like, "What
yeah,
is this?" But it didn't bother
and
me in the movie. It had context.
yeah, exactly. It had context. This starts this movie. It suffers from one very great error, and it's something that no Star Trek film should be. It's kind of forgettable.
Yeah,
And
that's kind of what I was saying. Like I didn't really remember it the first time I watched it. The second time I saw it, I was like, wow,
I
yeah,
mean, the only reason I got the three new Trek, the new Trek films, was I got them on a deal and everything. They had the store I bought them at and everything because I bought them secondhand. And I got
nice.
yeah, I got them. It was like they had a special get three free, and I was like, okay, I'll pick these up because we don't have them. And both me and the missus, we do like Star Trek and everything. I mean, we have the originals, the original series movies and everything. We don't have any of the next generation films, but that might be something we change in the future. But I was like, I at least want to have these because I would like to watch them once in a while. I do remember watching, as I said a couple weeks ago, I did enjoy Trek '09, and I had watched Into Darkness bits and pieces. And while the parts of the third act do frustrate me, there is some very enjoyable elements and parts to that film, and the same is true here. And the fact that we get the reveal that Idris Elba is the villain, I'm like, Idris Elba?
Yeah, he's always a good guy.
Yeah, he's generally a protagonist, not an antagonist. And I'm like, the only problem was with his character. We don't learn his motivation until like the third act or the final act of the film, practically.
Literally
And
the
I'm like,
last 5 minutes of the movie. It's like, what
and
the
I'm
heck?
like, yeah, I'm like, if you're trying to drop clues, you didn't do a particularly good job. Now,
You could do
like I
it
said,
sooner.
yeah. Now, am I bashing this film for it being completely irredeemable? No, but structurally, it could have been a lot better. And honestly, I think I will agree with you on this, Brian. And oftentimes, you and we agree on quite a bit. I think they supplanted the philosophical and ideological ideas and discussions that was very commonplace in Star Trek with action scenes and action set pieces.
Exactly.
Now you can have um you can have action set pieces in a Star Trek film. They did it in the next generation films. They did
Every
it to a
single
degree.
movie does. Like
Yeah, but there's
even Star
only
Trek
one.
4. Like
Yeah, I mean, but there was only one or two action set pieces. There wasn't numerous ones. And unfortunately, while they did put there was good writing in all three of these films, I think so at least. It got the good writing and the character development and the discussion on particular themes and ideas kind of got pushed to the side for like, ooh, here's some explosions.
yeah.
And
Well,
that's
it's
the thing
like
that bothered
yeah.
me.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like with Star Trek movies or most movies in the past,
Hmm.
like there was some action, but it was in build up for the cause of the main event, and I felt
Yeah,
like I was getting like 5-star, burn them down house matches, so I didn't have a chance to like catch my breath for 10 seconds, and
yeah.
even when you do for a few seconds, it's like you're like back in the action again. It's like, dude, I mean, God, I'm not trying to say like I want a boring ass Star Trek movie, but you got to let a moment breathe or two, or give us some scientific exposition, like just something. And
Well,
all of
then,
these movies lack it. That's one of the things. It's like it's the glaring flaws that make you go like, dang it, man. But like,
I mean, because
if I were
yeah,
to like take off my Star Trek hat for just 10 seconds, I'm sorry, I'll stop after this. Uh,
no, it's fine. Go ahead.
they are great popcorn flicks. And if I wasn't a Star Trek fan, I would love the hell out of these.
Hmm.
It's kind of how I feel about Marvel movies. I don't have investment of the comics, so I don't have pre-existing material to go off of. So I'm like, hell yeah, let's go, man.
Yeah. Well, and the thing for me to follow up with what you were saying. Now, as a person who has read Marvel comics all my life, or at least my adolescence into my teenage years, I'm familiar with the formula that comic books follow. And what they have done with, and this was not going to turn into a Marvel discussion, I'm using this as a comparison for those of you that are watching and listening. Um, I am familiar with the formula that is used in comic books to tell the stories that are told in that medium. And essentially, what Kevin Feige has done is he has taken that formula from the medium of printed comic books and transferred it to a visual medium, that being movies, streaming series, and so on, both live action and animated. What they've done with Star Trek is they have kind of they've buried the philosophical and ideological discussions in these that were commonplace in these film and they're in the I would say at least in the original series films and to a lesser degree in the next generation films. And they've turned it into more of a sci-fi action series. Now, is that necessarily bad or wrong? No, it isn't. But at the same time, you're exchanging thoughtful discussion and debate for explosions and chase scenes. So I feel like we missed out on a lot in these films. While there was good stuff in these three films, we missed out on a lot as well. So, and I do want to send a shout out to the chat, both Jess Allen and Jeff B. Guys, it is good to see you both, and
Hey.
appreciate you popping in tonight. And I'll bring up Jeff B.'s comment here real quick. I agree, Brian. If everything is crescendo, then the viewer doesn't know when to care. And hi, hi, Jeff. So, but yeah, I have to agree with you there, Jeff, because you've got to give the audience a chance to breathe, to catch their breath. And when every 5 minutes you've got somebody being chased, you've got somebody ducking and hiding, you've got a fist
Something's
fight,
blowing up.
you've got a gunfight or whatever the case may be, you're not giving the audience a chance to catch their breath. Now, a good action film, and I'll just toss out an example here. And Brian, you probably get this. Say, for example, the Expendables films, particularly the first one. It knew what it was, it understood what it was, and it didn't deviate from the formula that had existed in the 80s that the Expendables movies were based on. It leaned hard into it, and it was great. But Star
Yeah.
Trek was never meant to be an action-oriented franchise.
No.
There is action in it, yes, but it's more of the action takes a back seat, or it supports the dialogue and the discussion that's going on throughout the film.
It's the flake of parsley that they put on the side of your plate to make it look pretty. Like that's the action in a Star Trek movie.
Exactly.
It's not the main course. Like that's and I think that's what's wrong with it. Well, and there's another thing. Like I'm just gonna. Do you mind if we just jump around on this one?
Yeah,
Kinda?
go ahead. Yeah, it's fine.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
totally, dude.
This will be one of my last irritants, and then I'll strive to find some positivity.
Hey, if
Okay,
you can't, dude, you're not gonna hurt my feelings.
it irritates me that this movie didn't end diplomatically. Okay, so there was so much lauded going in to this movie about, oh, it's going to be like just, this is going to be the best Star Trek, it's going to be the most Star Trek out of all of these movies, because Simon Pegg is writing it, which is great. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that. I know
Yeah.
his love for the series, and I'm sure he was under certain constraints, which made it difficult for him to do his job.
Yeah.
But the end of this movie, instead of, in my opinion, shoehorning a Beastie Boys song in there, and just in favor, like you say, in favor of more like ride the waves, surfing, action bits. They could have found out his who he was and talked him out of it. And none of that last bit would have been that way. There wouldn't have been all that death and destruction, collateral damage, and all that kind of crap, which has no little to no place in a Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
Okay. And it would have ended it in a Star Trek way. Instead of firing shots, you're having a discussion and you're talking it out. You don't have to
Well,
have at the end of the
mhm.
movie just punch, 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 smash this through there, smash this through there, punch some more, zero G scene, punch some more. It's repetitive at this point with these movies.
Yeah.
They could have like really just did a rickroll on everybody and said, "Hey, we're going to end this diplomatically. We're going to make the guy realize who he is, who he was by seeing his old ship." And maybe that like seeing his old ship flying again spurs something in him to where he's like, maybe I should call this off.
But instead, he's just hell bent for leather. Like, hell no, I'm going to tear everything down. And, here's the thing: Idris Elba is a very talented actor. And I could almost sense that there was something more to his character of Balthazar Edison, our Kroll. And I'm like, really? You've got a character named Kroll? Just like from one of my all-time favorite 80s movies? Really? Like, come
Well,
on,
it's
people.
it's like Steppenwolf in the original Justice League. He has no motivation. It's just like, I'm bad guy, rar, fear me.
Essentially.
You
Yeah,
know,
essentially.
but that's like what all these guys have been reduced to. I mean, yes, there's a little more motivation to Nero and not so much to Khan because we never get that backstory. It's
No.
you have to know that backstory in order to get it. That's another
Yeah.
reason why I didn't like Khan being in that movie. But
Yeah. And I get that. Believe me, I get that. So, honestly, like I said, I watched this movie this afternoon and everything after I got home from working a few hours at work, and everything. I went in today to catch up on some time because I missed a couple of days. And I got home, got cleaned up, took me a nap, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get up from a nap and I'm gonna watch this. And I did. And I honestly, I enjoyed it. I did. But at the same time, I was like, this doesn't feel like the Star Trek I knew as growing up and as an adult. I don't hate it, but at the same time, it was all very disorienting.
yeah, it was just like
And
everybody was
it
talking
was,
about quitting, and it was like out of all the people who were talking about quitting, Spock was the only one that had like you understood why he wanted to quit. Kirk was
yeah,
like he's bored. It's like what?
like you're an explorer essentially. And and here's the other thing too. We obviously are existing in a different timeline here. So maybe there is some explanation, but at the same time, I'm thinking, who is James T. Kirk? He's an explorer. He's a bit of a ladies' man. He's he's complex.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that this James T. Kirk hasn't been complex and interesting, but how does he resolve this movie? Once again, putting his own neck on the line. Kirk in the other films never did that. And I honestly I'm gonna say this. I very rarely say this, and I'm not saying this to be dismissive of the actors and the cast who worked in this, but all of them seem to be kind of phoning it in just a little bit.
Well, yeah,
But
but
maybe
you
that's
gotta
just
like
me.
well at this point in their careers, they've already done moved on to other things.
Yeah,
They're
obviously. I mean,
not, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Zoe Saldana's doing Guardians. She's doing Marvel and so on. She's obviously going to be doing Avatar. I don't really know. Obviously, Chris Pine. He did the Wonder Woman films. I'm sure he's done some other stuff as well. Zachary Quinto's been doing stuff. Carl Urban, well, hell, he's been working for a while now. I'm sure he's doing other things. So,
Yeah,
and you know, Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg is awesome. I love Simon Pegg to death. His the Coronado trilogy, as it's known now, one of my all time favorite. Anything I haven't watched At World's End, but I have watched Hot Fuzz, and I have watched obviously Shaun of the Dead. So, and I'll bring up Jeff B's comment here. Playing to the new ADH crowd with nonstop action is the new way for them to make money.
basically.
and Jeff B, I think says, I prefer Casablanca. Yeah, I'm getting old. Jeff, you're not alone there. And Jeff, if you were here the other night for my late night with the Ambassador stream, you know I'm going to be doing discussions on films like that coming up in the near future. So, and also to the chat, Fook Norris. Fook, it's good to see you, bud. Hello, all. I agree, not a bad movie, but it's not Trek to me. It has the Star Trek name on it. They even have the theme at the end, like they always do, and I'm like,
Well, it's like
really?
two of the
I'm just
okay,
go ahead,
like,
Brian.
well, one of the criticisms for this is like it's Trek in name only kind of deal,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
I don't see it for 2009. Not maybe even for Into Darkness, okay, but this one,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the worst offender in the sense that it really doesn't necessarily feel like Trek. Because it's like, okay, how in the hell could Captain Kirk be bored with Starfleet after he had just gone through what he's gone through?
Yeah.
Like, dude,
I
there's
mean,
so
they
much.
are. Yeah. Go ahead, bud. Go ahead.
It's just so much, and it's just so they let go. Like I said, this movie paraded itself around before it came out. Like, this is supposed to be the most Trek of the Treks, and all the reviews were like, "Oh man, this is the most Trek feeling movie of all." And it's like, nah, dude. I got to the end of it, and I'm like, nah, dude, this does not feel like Trek at all. And I mourn for this.
It's like I've said before. I'm not mad. I'm just kind of let down and disappointed. And I think for me, that's kind of the biggest offense that you can commit with a film. You have all this potential. You have a great talented cast. You have all the resources that you could possibly ask for. Go tell a really good, entertaining story. Now, will I freely admit did I get a little bit of a did I get a grin when they used the Beastie Boys sabotage to destroy the alien fleet? Yes, I will
The first
admit that.
time, yeah, yeah,
I will freely admit I'm like, yes, I cannot say I don't approve. I mean, even when Kirk is like, this is a good track. Like he
right.
remembers, like it's amazing that the Beastie Boys survived into the 2260s. And I'm like, I can dig it.
Oh, and he's like, "Is this classical music?"
Yeah,
I
I
was
think
like,
it was
"Oh
I
man."
think it was it McCoy that said that?
McCoy said that. Yeah, I was like, "Damn, damn." Little joke, funny, funny.
It was funny. It was but it's hard to it's hard to love a franchise as much as I love Star Trek. Now, granted, there's a franchise I love more, Star Wars, but I am a softcore Trekkie. I will say it freely. And with these films, they continue to kind of spiral downwards, and that
Yeah,
for me was kind of sad, honestly. I mean, they started with such high hopes in the first film with Star Trek '09, and I was like, when we went to see it and everything in theaters, I was like, yeah, I can dig this. I enjoyed it. Even Mother and Bastard enjoyed it. Now, I never got to see Into Darkness because I was like, yeah, this is kind of copying Wrath of Khan, which is a superior film. But now that I've watched it, do I regret watching it? No, because there is some good stuff in it. But with Beyond, I'm just like, you could have told any number of stories, and this is the story you want to tell.
Right? I was just like,
They go through a nebula and they get attacked and and the Enterprise gets destroyed and they're stuck on this planet and they're trying to survive. Now, will I say that part of the movie was kind of cool? Them all split up trying to survive on their own, or just essentially trying to not die? Yeah, I'll be the first to admit it.
yeah, it was all
But
right.
at the same time, I'm just like, this is the story you really want to tell. Why? It's Star Trek. There's any number of stories you could potentially tell, and you're telling a okay. I'll just say it. This was a kind of bottom of the barrel Star Trek episode.
Yeah, it's not even a good two-parter. It's just like, oh man.
No, it's kind of a throwaway episode. Honestly, it doesn't really move anything forward. It doesn't really change anything per se. Yeah, they consider quitting and everything, and some people, some random red shirts and blue shirts and everything die. But aside from that, it doesn't really change anything. It's almost like Star Trek Nemesis. You
Yeah,
know,
that and I was gonna say Insurrection.
or that's what I meant. Insurrection, not Nemesis. Insurrection. I meant to say Insurrection.
Yeah.
It didn't really change anything,
No.
and
Wheel spinning the movie, basically.
essentially, yeah. And I'm just I've watched it. Will I watch it again this year? I don't know, maybe. But it's just it suffers from that one great sin, as we said. It's forgettable.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like Trek.
Well, and it doesn't make you
And
want to watch it again, though. Either it's like,
yeah, I mean, at least with Star Trek '09, there's some cool stuff to go back to. I mean, you've got Eric Bana as Nero, which is he's a really cool character. I mean, obviously, we've got Leonard Nimoy returning as Spock after so many years being gone, and that's great to see again. And you've got this brand new crew and everything, and there's good stuff in there. This, I may watch it again, but it's not gonna be for a while. It isn't like
yeah,
I'm gonna go. It isn't like probably next day or so, or maybe even once we get done later tonight and everything, or maybe tomorrow. I'm gonna sit down and rewatch Ghostbusters Afterlife. I got it on 4K, like I sent you that picture the other day. Everything. I when I finally went back to work yesterday, we had one copy of Ghostbusters Afterlife on 4K left, and I was like, mine. And
got it.
I will fight anybody who tries to take this out of my hand. You will have to. The only way you're going to get this movie out of my hand is pulling it from my cold, dead fingers, because that's how much I love Ghostbusters Afterlife. And I may have a similar reaction when the Eternals comes out in a few weeks on home video, because I loved Eternals.
It's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, not to get off on a big tangent, I don't see this film the same way everybody else. I don't see Eternals the same way everybody else did. Now, granted, everybody's not going to see it the same way I do, and vice versa. But with Beyond, I think about the most entertaining part. I mean, the movie was entertaining. Don't get me wrong, but the thing that really popped for me with the movie was the end credit song by Rihanna, Sledgehammer. That was a really good freaking song, and I'm not even a big Rihanna fan, to be honest with you. But I was like, the lyrics were good, the melody was good. I'm like, I even looked up to see if there was a music video or at least a lyric video, and there was a music video for that song. And I'm like, the music video was actually somewhat better than the movie. I mean, I don't know.
Well, that's a first for a Star Trek, I think, right? Like, it's got to be like the
A music
first time
video?
they've ever had a commercial song. I mean, that wasn't like orchestrated
Yeah.
from like a current artist. I mean, yeah, Star Trek First Contact had Steppenwolf and Roy Orbison in it,
But
and
that's
Beastie
different.
Boys, of course. But like, I would hardly consider the Beastie Boys a current act. You know what I mean? That's almost like
No.
remember when like in the '90s when James Bond intros were big, like
Oh, dude.
Sheryl Crow doing the music video or Garbage doing it or something like that. So it was like a big
I
deal. That's kind of what I think about like this.
I was gonna try and tune in for your Bond stream. I feel really bad that I couldn't and
Oh,
everything,
no
but
worries, man.
well, I love James Bond. I mean, I
Oh,
absolutely love James Bond. I may actually start doing some reviews for those or anything. Now, granted,
yeah,
that
let me
would
know.
take a
Let me
while,
know. Let me know.
dude. Yeah, but yeah, I totally get what you're saying because especially in the '90s with the Pierce Brosnan movies, they really, yeah, they went to more. Well, now, granted, if you think about it, through the history of the Bond films, I mean, like starting with like Goldfinger, they did get like big name singers and everything to do the opening credit scores or songs. But you know, you had Tina Turner for Goldeneye. You had, like you said, you had Garbage for The World Is Not Enough. When they announced that Garbage was going to be doing the theme for The World Is Not Enough, I was like, my queen,
Yeah, that was
because
huge. I mean, heck,
I
even
was.
Sheryl Crow doing "Tomorrow Never Dies." Like,
Did she do that one? I can't remember because I've only
yeah,
watched it maybe once or twice.
Cheryl Crow
Okay,
did "Tomorrow Never Dies." I went through and listened to all of them. There's some
even
pretty interesting
Madonna.
ones.
Yeah.
Nancy Sinatra did
Oh,
You Only Live Twice."
yep.
Shirley Bassey did four of them.
Goldfinger.
She did Goldfinger, Diamonds Are Forever,
Hmm.
Moonraker, and no, she did three of them.
Yeah.
Three of
I
them.
mean, you've got Paul McCartney who did "Live and Let Die," and that's one of my all-time favorite songs.
Hmm. But
But you
I
know,
mean,
mhm.
you like basically what I'm saying is like that's marketing in the '90s, especially marketing a song like "Kiss from a Rose," like marketing a
Ugh.
movie off of a song. They'll remember that, like it was like "Kiss from a Rose." Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On." Like
Yes.
those two were intrinsically connected because there was a music video about like that was connected to the movie, and it was like the movie sold or the music video was like a trailer for the movie in a sense.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, and you
Duran
know,
Duran did a Video Kill.
yeah. But the thing that I loved about the '90s Bond films was the fact that the music. I think honestly, one of the strong things was the music, and not to mention they did music videos for those movies. They included footage from the films. I mean, yeah, you've got Tina Turner being awesome, and well, let's just be candid. She didn't stop working until just like maybe 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
She was one of the hardest working women in music and everything for a long old time. And I mean, of course, if you want to talk about current Bond, Adele,
Oh yeah.
I think she did one of the greatest scores for a Bond film ever.
Yeah, I
Skyfall.
agree. I agree.
Holy
Well,
freaking cow.
Chris Cornell doing
Yes,
the Casino
you'll know my
Royale one.
name. Yeah, you
Okay,
know
and
my name.
then the only thing I liked about Quantum of Solace was Alicia Keys and Jack White doing the
Mhm.
theme. But no, I just like that's kind of interesting for to bring it back to Star Trek a little bit.
Yeah,
You
sure.
never had that like a mainstream
Artist.
artist do a song connected with a Star Trek movie before. And I remember people are like, why is Rihanna doing a Star Trek song? God dang it. Man, 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 man. Because, you know, Facebook was alive back in 2017.
It's still alive today, but yeah.
There was a lot of complaint. There still is, but I filter blocked Facebook so bad that I don't even go on there anymore.
I hear you. I
I don't
understand,
even
truly.
I don't even see family members hardly anymore. It's like nobody's on Facebook. So sad. Mm.
Yeah, it used to be the big thing.
Yeah.
Now it's, but the thing that made me really, here's the thing. If you compare the destruction of the Enterprise in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, and you compare the destruction of the Enterprise here with the destruction of the Enterprise in Search for Spock, I felt something. I think as most
Yeah.
people did. With
Yeah.
this, I was like, I don't feel anything.
Well,
And
one,
I'm not. Go
you
ahead.
never got the chance to get connected to this ship because it's always been blown half to heck and then rebuilt. Okay, so you always assume, oh well, they're just gonna patch a new fender on there and buff it out. It'll be fine. Okay, when the Enterprise retrofit gets destroyed in Star Trek 3, one, it wasn't destroyed by a giant locust swarm. Okay, it was destroyed by
Kirk.
self-destruct. It was Kirk's own words that destroyed that ship. And it was in the service of the story, and it
Yep.
meant something. It was powerful. And not only that, they played Amazing Grace as it was slowly going off into the damn, you know.
And you had that very iconic line, my God, what have I done? And McCoy says to him, do what you always do. Give us a fighting chance to survive.
Yeah.
The destruction of the Enterprise in this just felt empty. And then
Yeah.
at the end, what are they doing? Oh, they're rebuilding it. It's going to be the Enterprise A.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I will say that looked better. Like in comparison, I liked it. It looked a lot better. It
Yeah.
looked more like the Enterprise A from the movies. But see, there was more. Just back to the destruction of ships, Star Trek
Mhm.
Generations.
Oh, the
Okay,
Enterprise D. Yeah.
that was like losing a friend because you got used to seeing that ship every day, every night for 7 years.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's the shame with this new Enterprise is like they never even got the let the paint dry. It was like, oh, okay, they blew it up. Like, do you guys ever have a mission where you don't like completely destroy the ship? Like 2009 Star Trek, that thing got blown to all heck. You know, they limped home into
Yep.
darkness. Didn't they lose the front half of the ship or something like that? It was
Something like
like,
that. It
yeah,
got
it was
tore up pretty bad.
ridiculous. Yeah. You know, that never happened in any of the Star Trek movies. You know, that it didn't destroy the ship entirely.
And I'll say this. Initially, when they showed the Yorktown station, I was like, "Hmm, that's
Well, it's like
interesting."
it's like the Citadel in Mass Effect.
Sorta.
Yeah.
Honestly, but after looking at it a few times, you know what it reminded me of? A really cheap, tacky Christmas ornament.
True.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean,
Nah.
I don't mean to crap on this movie, but the whole station from a distance, it looked like a freaking really cheap, like dollar store Christmas ornament.
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
I'm like, or it almost looked like the holographic base in the Matrix sequel movies. I'm like, okay, where's everybody being? Where's the jacks into the backs of people's heads that plugs them into the holographic interface here? Except there
Yeah,
isn't any.
very
And
true.
people, you all know me. I don't generally crap on movies. But like I said, I did enjoy this. But again, it's just it comes back to what I said before. It's forgettable.
Yeah. Well,
I
and
mean, I
it's
didn't even
forgettable for the reason that it takes all the little flaws from the previous two movies and
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 compounds them.
puts a it puts a magnifying glass on them to where you
Yeah,
actually notice, and you're like, yeah, there's no lens flare and camera shake, but if you think about it, it kind of fit the action that was going on. This action here, I would take camera shakes any day over looping barrel rolls and just spectacular over the top, just too deep. I mean, like over the top action. That's what the one thing. And like I said, it just took the action from the previous two movies that was already over the top and then just turned it up to 11. Went full freaking Spinal Tap on it, man. Like, no joke.
yeah, really. And shout out to the chat, Josh of Order of Evan. Josh, it's good to see you, bud. Appreciate you being here. Yeah,
What
it's just it's. I
I'm
wanted to
sorry.
do this.
I made you think about this, huh? You're just like, hey, I
No,
kind of like this movie. And they're like, now that I'm like making you actually think about it, you're just like,
well, no,
wait a
because
minute.
here's the thing. No, honestly, no BS, no bullcrap. Because you know me, I don't BS or bullcrap, Brian. This stuff did come to mind as I was watching this afternoon. I was like, this seems strangely familiar, and then I remembered the line from Airplane 2, the sequel, where Julie Haggerty says to Robert Hayes' character, "I've had the strangest feeling we've done this all before." And as I was watching, I was like, I have the strangest feeling I've seen this all before, just without as many lens flares and stuff. And I'm like, ugh. I mean, I sat through it and I enjoyed it, but then once it was over, I turned it off. I put it back in the case. I put it back on the shelf,
Yeah.
and it's
And
just
there it will sit for a very long time.
probably. I mean, I'll
Well,
watch it before. Go ahead, Brian.
well, this will be the last time I interrupt. I promise. No.
You're fine, dude. You're
um,
fine. Believe me.
okay, so in terms of like rewatchability, 2009, I wore that DVD out.
Hmm.
Uh,
I always
Into
think, Josh,
Darkness.
you shut up.
I bought it on. I think it's saved on my computer. I think I don't know. I bought it on
Uh-huh.
Vudu. Or I got the
Uh-huh.
digital download for it. But
Yeah.
okay, I watched that a couple times. This one I red boxed it first off. I never watched it in the theaters,
Hmm.
and I didn't. I only watched it once, a- and I just recently watched it right before we like not. I finished it before we did this stream, but I started it a couple weeks ago. But
Yeah.
like that's how I quit it mid move, like almost at the end of the movie. You think I would have like finished it off, but no, I didn't.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like. I just like if I'm gonna be critical about it, like these movies were just, or this movie in particular, it
Was
wasn't
probably
as good
literally
as I
circling the
remember it.
drain.
Yeah, yes, and it's like there's probably a reason why they're probably never gonna make another one of these again. And I say that never gonna make one of these again in a sense that we're probably never gonna see a Kelvin timeline movie again.
No, probably not. This will be it. And as it's been several years since we've heard any news, yeah, I don't see them doing anymore, which kind of stinks because I genuinely did like the crew. I liked the cast that they had for these movies.
Yeah, but the problem was is that like they had these casts at the perfect time. Like when was
Yeah,
Avatar 2010, 2011, something like that?
I remember it distinctly, 2009, because I had started dating my now ex-wife at the time.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so the same year that Avatar comes out, okay. But Zoe Saldana's popularity with the MCU,
mhm.
okay?
Yeah.
She's untouchable. Dude, they made Chris Pine the next Jack Ryan.
Wow. I
Yeah,
didn't
he
know
was in
that.
one of
Yeah, that's
well,
right. They did that.
he
Yeah.
was in like a new Under Siege kind of movie. You know what I mean? Like a Tom Clancy flick. So Chris Pine was a bunch of people. He was in that train movie, Unstoppable or whatever. with the train that wouldn't stop. Denzel
I'd have
Washington,
to
I
look
think.
it up. I don't remember, honestly.
But I mean, and not only that, but now he's in Comic Book Fair, which
Yeah.
is just adds an extra dollar sign. And they were talking about bringing back Chris Hemsworth. Dude, how are you gonna get Thor to come back in your movie, dude? You're Star Trek.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
not
think he
gonna
has
happen.
that fond of memories of it.
Well, his role in it wasn't particularly long either. I mean,
No,
he
no.
had what, one scene or one portion of a movie, and that was it. And then he dies.
Before the opening credits, he's dead.
Yeah.
Uh, You know,
And of course, you don't have Bruce Greenwood anymore, which
no,
made me sad because he got killed in the last movie. You're like,
yeah.
well, damn, you killed off one of my favorite actors. What the hell we gotta do now?
Well, it's just like I said. I think this was one of the ones I was least excited about. Like, as far as going to see it, I was just like, nah,
Yeah,
I'm good.
I mean, I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, "This looks interesting. I would go see this." And I never got a chance to. I never got around to going to see it. And today was literally the first time I ever watched it all the way through. And
Yeah,
like I said, I did enjoy it, but at the end of the day, it was just kind of like we mentioned before. It was a low tier episode of Star Trek.
yeah. The
It's like it
throwaway
was like
episode, like
yeah, like an episode with Worf's son,
yeah.
only worse. I'm s- I'm just gonna say this: them giving Worf a kid was one of the worst ideas ever.
Well, the kid that was funny was he was in Family Ties,
Yeah.
and he
Uh,
was also Brian Bonsall or something like that. But he was
yeah.
also in
Mhm.
that movie Blank Check, and I
I
like low key
vaguely,
loved that. I loved that movie Blank Check, man. I mean,
I
it's the most
vaguely remember that movie.
implausible. Like some gangster gets into a like is fresh out of prison and he gets a checkbook and he like runs over this kid in his bike and he doesn't have time to write a check, so he gives him this blank check and the kid's like, what? So I want a check for $1 million. And he's like, this kid's like buying these
One.
houses and all this kind of crap. And it's like, dude, the $1 million, really? But it's like this kid goes to the bank and cons people into giving him money. It's an interesting movie. I mean, it's actually more interesting than the movie we've just been talking about for the last almost hour.
Yeah, I have to.
See,
Um,
like,
hmm?
doesn't that say a lot about this movie though? Like, we spent more time like
Ta-
enjoyment time talking about James Bond
yeah,
and a blank check.
yeah. Well, to ask you a question, have you been watching Book of Boba Fett?
Absolutely.
Okay, I haven't really had a chance to talk to you about the last couple episodes, so let's spend a little time and we'll discuss Book of Boba Fett, the last couple episodes. What did you think?
You mean the Book of Mandalorian? Um,
Shut up.
it was okay. No, I understand what's going on. Okay, I
I
understand
know.
that like everything is interconnected now, which I love. It's fantastic.
Yes.
Amen. Thank
Yes.
you. And the
Yes.
more that they can make the sequel trilogy make sense for people who didn't enjoy them, the better. Okay, that is where I'm at. Okay,
Mhm.
that way everyone can be a part of this party that we call Star Wars. You
Yes.
know, that
Although,
no more division,
the
right?
sequel.
Right, Ambassador. And what's the best
Um,
way to do that but to give those movies some sort of context? Maybe if they give
uh,
some people some context, that might put things to bed for some people. That's all I'm
um,
suggesting.
for me, this is just new EU. That's all this is.
And
I
that's
do not I don't care if it connects to the sequels. I don't care if it gives context. To me, this is just new EU, and that's how I'm looking at it. As far as I'm concerned, those other three movies don't exist. I'm going to tell my own dang story within that time period, and I will do a better job.
well, I
Just
get you,
saying.
but I'm just saying
I
like
know. Yeah,
from
I
a
know.
business standpoint, it makes sense to try to get
Yes, it
everybody
does.
involved with your story.
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
agree. Yeah.
And at least to get half of them to shut up, maybe if you can get like a quarter of them to be like to quit like trying to burn you in effigy, like
That will
business
never
one.
happen.
But no, I think with these well, with the deep fake technology, I think it's kind of weird, and I don't know how I totally feel about it going forward,
Didn't bother me.
especially when it comes to actors and actresses passing. Here's my thing. Okay,
Yeah.
I look at them as like digital puppets because that's
Yes.
basically what it is. It's
Yes.
and you have a performer, and that's what one thing I am going to bring up to Max because he's like, it's not a performer. I'm like, no, dude, there's literally somebody on screen performing the dialogue like he would because they have to try to match it up. They have to have something to key off of and go off of. So,
Look,
in your face,
you
Max.
can
I'm right. You're wrong, son. Bow down. Oh,
you
he's not
can
here.
you can say this and you don't have to tell him who said it because, well, it is what it is. But yes, you are correct. He is 100% wrong. It is essentially puppetry to a degree. But now here's the thing. Mark Hamill is
When
alive
somebody
and
dies,
well.
though, how's the thoughts on that?
Are you talking about like with Peter Cushing for Rogue One?
Yeah, I'm talking. Well, and here they did do it with Carrie Fisher, but
Oh, you're talking
I
about for
think
Rise of Sky. You're
maybe
talking about for Rise of
maybe
Skywalker.
yeah, maybe let's step out of Star Wars for just a second.
Okay.
Like let's apply that to somebody's favorite actor. Like so Sean Connery recently passed.
Yes.
Okay. Would
Hmm.
we be okay seeing Sean Connery on screen again
No.
via deepfake? You know what I mean?
No.
So it's like
I
if
would
they're a
have a
puppet, where do we draw the line? Because when Jim Henson died, Kermit the Frog still had a voice.
true, but that was someone else that took up the mantle. That's different. That was a literal puppet.
But
Now, granted, yes,
that's like recasting an actor or something like that.
to a degree, yes, but here's the thing. The performance you're getting from the puppet is pretty much the same. The character of the puppet is not changing. If they did that with Sean Connery and they decided to tinker with how he acted and how he behaved and so on, that would be an issue. Josh, I don't want to say it was awful, but they were just testing the waters with it. It wasn't as good as it is now. I mean, even if you look at Luke in
I
this
think Tarkin looked
episode,
better than Carrie Fisher did, to be honest. I think
I
it's
think
because we
Carrie
were so
Fisher,
close to Carrie Fisher's face.
that's true. Now, the thing I will say in regards to when we saw Luke at the end of Mandalorian and seeing him now, you can tell that they have gotten better with that deepfake technology. It looks
Oh, a
100%.
million times
It
better.
looks it looks 100% seamless.
Yeah, no, I had no issues with it. Like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like my only things were like the moral implications of what this technology has to bring to the table.
No, and I get what you're saying. I do. I
Okay,
do
so
understand.
I
Mhm.
do have the question. What do you think he'll take?
What do you mean?
What do you think Grogu will choose?
Well, to look at it from the perspective of my story that I've written, Unity of the
Mm-hmm.
Force, he takes the saber.
Gotcha. Here's here's
That
here's my half-baked conspiracy theory.
Go ahead.
Okay. I think he takes the chainmail. And that's what
Mhm.
leads to that's the nexus point in the force that sends Luke down the dark path. Like he instead of Grogu being his first student, one of his first students is his nephew.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't that be interesting? Like, if Grogu's not there to like say stop what's going on, because I'm like they were saying, like she was saying, Ahsoka was saying, like where he was saying to Ahsoka, which I thought was amazing. How cool is it that Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano were in the same like screen?
Well, can I? All right. I've not really shared any of my story with you, Brian. There's actually a portion of there's a point at my story where you have, or I have, Luke and Ahsoka and Rey and Grogu all together. And when I was watching this, I was like, Dave Filoni, you sneaky little monkey. Did you listen to my rough draft of my fan fiction when I still had it up on my channel? You're like, hey, I like this guy's idea. I think I'm gonna borrow a little bit of it. I mean, I it's like I'm not saying that's what he did. I'm not saying by any means that's what he did. But I couldn't help but be somewhat flattered to think that the story that I've efforted to work on for a little over a year now, and to see part of that story be brought to life by the people that are working on it professionally, I couldn't help but feel like, hey, this is really freaking cool. This kind of validates my ideas, that they see some merit in it. So
That is cool,
and
man.
yeah, I'll send you that portion of that script and everything. And I'll let you have a read. So, and I do want to send a shout to the chat. Another good friend of the channel, a fellow ambassador, Mr. Zach Leary. Good evening, sir. Hope you're doing well. Zach, I don't know if you tuned in for the Star Trek Beyond discussion. You missed it.
It was brief. No.
It was brief, it was short, it was to the point. We don't hate it, but we were very disappointed. Right now, we're talking of Mandalorian or Mandal. Now, see what you did, Brian.
Yeah,
Damn
we'll
you!
see. That Freudian slip means something. No, the problem is that if we're, like, I understand why people are upset. Like, well, it's Book of Boba, and it should be about
I'm
Book of
not
Boba.
upset. Yeah, I know. I
Well,
know you're not saying I
me
am.
neither. I mean, I've given flight to that. Honestly, I'm happy when
Yeah.
we get to see it.
Yes.
Oh, he will,
Yeah.
Josh. He will. Don't you wait. I mean, don't you worry about it. He's gonna take
Oh
that dark saber.
no,
He's gonna be the
no,
foundling that brings forth. But no, like.
no. He is
But see,
not
the
the
thing is like
mythosaur. Boba's the
if
mythosaur.
if Grogu was at that school, I don't think Ben Solo would have did what he did,
Well,
because
here's the
I
thing.
think Grogu would have been able to stop it.
Well, here's the thing, and this is the theory that I put forth. Well, this is the plot point that I put in my story. Grogu um was trained, and then he left, and he caught and him and Ahsoka crossed paths, and they decided to travel together for a while. So, yeah, I'll bring up your comment here, Zach. Not a big fan either. Well, Ways of Idris Elba, it sucks. I like Shatner's films and Generations.
Basically.
I think he's saying Next Generation. I hope you're saying Next
Well,
Generation, Zach,
no, he's
because
talking
nobody
about
likes.
Star Trek V and Star Trek Generations. What? Oh, come on, those
No,
are
I think
both
he's
great
talking about the
movies.
next year. I think he's talking about the next generation films.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like
So,
both. Those are great. Hey, Cat Bane face. I had no issue with that.
Well, Zach sent me a couple of pictures and everything on Twitter. And Zach, yeah, I did like those pictures. I did see the little toothpick that was added. Now I know you're trolling, Zach, because no one likes Generations. What are you, high?
Generations was the first movie like right out of theaters that I watched. I became a Star Trek fan in '94.
I've got you up on. I've got two up on that one. Star Trek Final Frontier and Star Trek The Undiscovered Country were my first two Star Trek films in theater. Haha.
Nice. My first in theaters was First Contact.
Cool.
But
Very
Generations
cool.
was
Honestly,
fresh at Blockbuster.
Duh. Generations is painful. I'll watch it occasionally, just if I have nothing else better to do with my time, but Generations is just painful. Okay, that's what I thought you meant, Zach. Thank heavens.
Oh, okay.
I will say this in terms of the whole sequence with Cad Bane and Cobb Vanth. Was I the only one that got good, bad, and the ugly vibes from that entire sequence?
Oh, of course.
Okay, thank
And
you. It
he's
wasn't
not,
just me.
and he's not dead. I don't think Cobb Vanth is dead.
No, Cobb's not dead. No, he got cut. He got the theory with most people, and this is a theory I agree with. He got shot in the shoulder. The
Yeah.
deputy, oh, he's dead, but Cobb
Oh,
got
he
shot in
did.
the shoulder.
Yeah, he did.
But the funny thing is, I love that when I saw, I said this the other night. I said this last night on my on here when I was talking with two Joshes and my buddy Ibby Geek. Um, he when I saw that silhouette in the desert, I was like, I think I know who this is. And when it got a little bit closer, I saw the outline of the hat. I was like, and I said this as Madam Ambassador was staying right next to me. Yes, yep, Zach. You get the gold star and the cookie. You get the Cupid doll. You get the deed to the fabulous mansion. Yes, he is Lee Van Cleef from the Man with No Names, the Sergio Leone films. Yep, exactly. And Brian, if you say who's Lee Van Cleef, we can no longer be friends.
Oh, I know who Lee Van Cleef is.
Okay, good. We can still be friends. There.
I
See?
I
Now we can be
just
friends
have.
again.
It's been a while since I've watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, good, the bad, and the ugly for a fistful of dollars for a few dollars more. Holy freaking crap. I love those movies.
Yeah, they were good. They were good.
Zach, my man, we're going to have to do that for the Ultra Retro. We're going to have to do those movies.
There you go.
Oof. Well, and for those of you that might be wondering, what the hell is Ultra Retro? I discussed this the other night on my late night with the Ambassador stream, and I'm going to be doing those on a semi-regular basis as I have the time. Josh, shut up. I'm going to be starting a new series of videos and streams. It's called Ambassador's Ultra Retro Reviews, where I'm going to be going back to the entertainment industry of the 1930s all the way up through like the 1960s or 70s. And we're going to be talking about the big name directors, the big actors, the big movies, the small movies even of those decades and everything. And just kind of, I want to do, I've been, ever since I did my stuff for Halloween back last year, um, I've been bitten by the ultra retro bug. And this is something new.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach, I don't think you're alone. Okay, yeah. I'm sick of Tatooine, guys. We're going there with Kenobi. Petition no more deserts, and I had to join a dollars trilogy combo. Zach, that'll be on the books. It may not be. It's not going to be for several months because I'm putting together all my content for that. But we're going to be talking about, like I said, we're going to be talking about the big movies and like I said, some of the small stuff too. And any of you that want to be involved with me in this project, the Ultra Retro Project, you know how to get a hold of me on social media. And I'll be putting out notifications, everything as I put together my content for that. I'm also going to be doing an upload. I'm going to be doing a upload video for a very near and dear movie to me. It was one of the last studio films that Disney did in the late 70s, The Black Hole. And I'm going to be doing that as an upload here in the near future. So I'll probably be putting that out hopefully sometime this month. Because that's one movie from Disney I never really had a chance to discuss. Josh, I got just one question. How the heck am I a gatekeeper? Can you answer that question for me? Because I never understood that. I never understood that. You've seen Tarkovsky's Primal. I can't say that I have, Zach. To be honest with you, I have never even heard of it. So, You'll have to fill me in on Twitter or whatever, because I don't even know who that is or what that is. So, oh, but yeah, Brian, let me ask you, what do you think Grogu's gonna pick? The saber?
Oh no, I already told you. I think he's going to take the. It's going to create a nexus point in the Force. He's going to take the mithril. He's taking the chainmail, man.
Oh, okay, Zach. Okay, now I know who you're talking about. Tarkovsky. Yeah, I know who that is. I just never heard of that particular show that he did. So, all right,
But yeah,
and
no,
say Zach,
I think he's going to take the armor.
you think so?
Yep.
We'll have to wait and see.
It'll explain why we don't see him around later on.
Possibly. I'll have to check that out, Zach. Then thank you for the lead, and hey, bud, you have a good night, and thanks for stopping in. So,
Heck yeah.
um, well, Brian, I think we're gonna. I know. And I'll bring up your. I'll bring up. Okay, and I'll bring up Josh's comment here. I'm kidding, Ambassador. By the way, Brian, I don't know what movie you have seen. You can still. I don't care what movies you have seen. You can still be my friend.
Oh, well, that's good. Thank you. Fantastic.
So, um, I'm gonna let you get. I think we're gonna wrap up here in just a minute. But Brian, I'm gonna let you have the final thought or thoughts
Uh,
before we call it a night. So, anything you want to discuss, anything you want to bring up, and the floor is yours, my friend. So,
well, I'm gonna go make a sandwich right after this because I've got some hunger pangs.
ooh,
Uh, I am glad that we did this. It's been a
mm-hmm.
while since I've kind of, I don't want to say forced myself to watch these movies, but
Yeah,
um,
I get you.
it's just been a while since I've actually like taken the time to sit down and take these movies in.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice. It really was, especially with Star Trek 2009, because I really do love that movie.
Yeah,
Um,
likewise.
it was kind of ruined for me because it was on like 24-hour repeat on what TBS or whatever the hell TNT.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Into Darkness, but I didn't watch that movie. I didn't go out of my way to watch that movie. But I don't know. I like I said at the beginning of the show, it just felt kind of like a funeral, but it was sad and muted. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they one of the things that was kind of touching. Uh, they said that this is Chekhov's vodka, and they drank a shot. It was kind of their way of saying goodbye because he passed during filming,
Yeah,
and I that was kind of touching. But like I said, it just kind of captured the overall tone of the movie because it just kind of feels like death. And and that's a bad thing to talk about in a Star Trek movie, but like that's kind of how it feels because it kind of killed the franchise as
yeah.
far as
Unfortunately.
these movies are concerned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, and that is truly the unfortunate thing about Beyond, because I don't know if or when we're ever going to get another Star Trek film on the big screen. I would like to see something. I would like to see another Star Trek film on the big screen. I would even be willing to go back to the theater to see some of the older Star Trek films, like if they did anniversary releases or whatever.
Yeah.
But as far as new Trek goes, I'm not anti new Trek. I'm not some angry boomer who's yelling at the kids to get off my lawn. But I don't know how I feel about New Trek because I really have a chance to watch it. But at the same time, it just doesn't appeal to me. I don't hate it, but it just doesn't seem like it's for me. But as with Star Wars, they're giving me stuff I like. With Marvel, they're giving me stuff I like. With DC, I ignore it.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I have pretty much just moved away from discussing anything DC, honestly. I mean, I watched the first 4 episodes of Peacemaker. Am I going to probably watch the others? Yeah, I'll catch up with the series because it did at least entertain me, but am I going to dedicate any time on the channel here to discuss it? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't.
I'm just
Maybe.
I here's the thing. I don't hate DC. I'm not a DC detractor or anything of that kind. I have talked DC in the past when it was of interest to me, but I have been and always will be a Marvel fan. And for me, the MCU is solid. It's
Yeah.
entertaining, it's engaging, it's thought provoking. I have a great time discussing with people, and I have a great time watching it. I mean, I went back and rewatched the last couple episodes of What If, and I was like, these still hold up. There's a lot of good stuff in What If.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But the thing with DC is there's so much. Now, granted, it's more so on the within the social media sphere than in the real world. But there's so much effing drama around DC that I just don't want to even touch it.
Pretty
Now,
much.
am I going to go see the Batman with Robert Pattinson? Oh hell yes, absolutely, emphatically yes, because I'm very much interested in
The
yeah, and
character
Josh,
of Batman. Yeah.
I've always been a fan of Batman, and I want to see what Robert Pattinson does with his turn. And the cast alone is enough incentive for me to go see this film. But as far as anything else DC related, I just don't want to touch it. I don't hate it, but I'm not invested in it. I'm
Yeah.
invested in Marvel. So that's kind of my rant there. So, and yeah,
Yeah.
Josh, Eternals is on, has been on Disney Plus for about, well, a little over a month now. So, and I have, as soon as I can get the missus sat down long enough to where we can watch it together, because she hasn't seen it. Of course, she hasn't seen Shang-Chi either, and she hasn't seen Venom. Although, granted, Venom really wouldn't be her thing, but she hasn't seen No Way Home either. So, but anyways, folks, like I said, I think we are gonna wrap up for the evening. Brian, a pleasure, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And of course, this will not be Brian's last time here.
Nope.
We'll be confabbing about our next collaboration and everything. And always look forward to have you on board, my friend. So, anyways, folks, go check out Brian's channel. He does a lot of great. He does, and I say this with no hyperbole whatsoever. Brian does a lot of great content on his channel. He is worth your time. He is worth your attention, and he is worth the subscription. Anyway, as always, leave your comments down below with anything me and Brian discussed this evening. I will, of course, be back next Friday afternoon with the Council of Ones as we continue on with our review of Babylon 5 Season 5. And I haven't planned out when I'm going. Of course, I will be covering the conclusion of the Book of Boba Fett next weekend. So be keep your eyes and ears out for that. And I haven't decided what else I'm going to be covering next weekend and everything. But once I figure that out, I will let y'all know on my socials and everything. So anyway, you folks have a great night. We will see you all next time. And above all, stay ambassadorial. And these are the ambassadors. Signing off.